The Pypes X-Bomb catback that we're talking about here today, guys, is currently the most affordable full stainless catback of its kind that's also going to deliver ear-piercing tone thanks to the combination of X-pipe and mid-muffler design. The materials will be a combination of 304 and 409 grade stainless throughout, and the tips here will be shown in the traditional polished finish for right around $700. Now, since catback installs on the S550 are a walk in the park, expect a relatively easy day in the garage. However, since you do have to get underneath the car, the site is automatically going to kick this one up to the softest 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter here in about an hour or so to complete from start to finish. But if you hang till the end of the video, we'll be sure to show you how it's done. So in my opinion, the X-Bomb here, along with the corresponding H-Bomb, also from Pypes, will be the best bang for your buck systems currently available here on the site for non-active 2018 and newer GTs. Now, the combination of the full stainless build along with a huge increase in volume will no doubt make this a popular choice for just about anyone out there looking to give their S550 a ton of bark. Just how much bark? Well, as you guys heard with our sound clips at the very top of this video, the X-Bomb will certainly deliver in that department. In fact, I'm willing to go full pull 5 out of 5 on my trusty Wake the Neighbor scale here, as this thing and its very aggressive design is sure to turn more than a few heads and maybe get some angry looks from unsuspecting or unapproving pedestrians. Now, unfortunately, it's hard to go this loud on the outside without carrying some of that noise into the interior. That is, of course, unless you fork out big dough for a Corsa or a Borla. So with that in mind, just expect the smallest amount of interior drone while cruising on the highway. Although I will say it's not nearly as bad as the Pypes H-Bomb system, with the lower frequency that system achieves through the different mid-pipe design. Now, that loud, raspy growl is made possible thanks to the X-pipe design, which we've already pointed out, but also due to the twin mid-mounted bullet-style mufflers. Now, I use that term muffler very loosely here because, as you can see, guys, these things are more of a resonator than anything else, but that's what you will be receiving here with this particular system. But what do you say we move away from the sound and briefly talk about the construction and materials with the Pype system? And again, a big plus at this price point is going to be the inclusion of that full stainless steel build. 409 grade here will be the main or predominant material, with a little 304 splashed in for good measure with those tips. And because of this full stainless design, Pypes is going to back each system with a limited lifetime warranty. Now, speaking of those tips, guys, again, 3-inch double-walled full stainless in the more traditional polished finish, but quick heads up, you can also get this on the site with a black tip instead for a few bucks more if you're interested. Now, piping will all be 3-inch mandrel bent, and finally, guys, the system will connect to the factory manifolds, or mid-pipe, I should say, along with select aftermarket full 3-inch options thanks to the included adapters. And that's something you don't always see in the aftermarket exhaust category. But let's get into the install as promised. And again, very simple stuff here, guys. In fact, to give you a better idea of just how easy this one will be, here's that detailed walkthrough along with a quick tool breakdown.
For this install, we used a 3H drive impact gun, a deep 15mm socket, a deep 13mm socket, a shallow 13mm, a small extension, a power ratchet, and a rubber mallet. Okay guys, so we are going to drop our catback as one big piece. We're going to start up in the front and then work our way towards the back. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to loosen these clamps here. Now, you'll need a 15mm socket for that. We're going to go ahead and loosen all 4 of these nuts here. just double checking to make sure that the clamps popped free. If they didn't, you guys can always take a flathead screwdriver right here and just pry them apart a little bit. The next thing that we're gonna do is unbolt our 2 sets of hangers. Now you guys have 2 hangers back here behind the rear diff, and there are also 2 hangers over top of your rear mufflers. You'll need a 13mm socket for that. What we're gonna do is we are going to remove the bolts, but we're gonna leave the hangers clipped into the frame here, and that's gonna hold our exhaust up until we're ready to remove it. All right, now we'll remove the bolts back here by the muffler. And then we'll do the same thing for the other side. All right guys, so at this point you're ready to drop your cat back as one big piece. Now it's going to make things a lot easier for you if you have a second set of hands. I have Andrew here, he's gonna help me drop the cat back down. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna unclip the hangers from the body of the car, and once that's done, we are going to push backwards on the resonator and then it will drop free from the car. So with our factory cat back off the car, we can take a quick second and compare it to our Pypes cat back. So the Pypes cat back is a 3-inch cat back made of stainless steel. Now because this is a 3-inch cat back and we're going to be bolting up to our factory connection pipes, we are going to be using the adapters that Pypes includes. If you guys are bolting up to your factory connection pipes, you'll be using the adapters as well. And going with a stainless steel exhaust is always going to be your best bet if you're looking for a long life out of the product and you want the most corrosion resistance. The other thing that I'm going to point out with the pipe system here is that this is an X-pipe, and typically speaking, an X-pipe setup is going to give you more volume and a lot more sound. The other thing that I'm going to point out here is that Pypes includes a mid-muffler type of setup with a resonator style bullet muffler here. You guys can see there are no more traditional mufflers, and that these mufflers look a lot different than your factory mufflers do. These are straight through mufflers, and they're going to give you a ton of sound and a lot of volume, and also some raspy notes too. Lastly, the system is going to end in 4-inch polished stainless steel tips. Real quick, before we get this system installed in the car, we're going to go ahead and grab our hangers off of our factory cat back and put them on the pipes. All right, so we're going to remove these hangers. If you guys have a hard time getting yours off, you can always use some WD-40 or PB Blaster. We'll get them installed on the pipe system and then grab our other set of hangers. All right, so now we're going to install our adapters into our factory clamps here on our connection pipe. So I'm just going to slide these into place, and I am going to tighten these clamps down right now too, so you'll need a 15mm socket for that. Next, we're going to install our mid pipe. So I do have 2 clamps in place already on the mid pipe. You're going to want to make sure that you have clamps on any pipes before you connect them. The X pipe does have a support bar at the back. You want to make sure that support bar is pointed towards the ground. You don't want to have it oriented so it's pointing up towards the bottom of the car, but towards the ground instead. And I do have a pole jack here that's going to help me get my mid pipe in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide over the adapters here, and then I'll use the pole jack to help hold up the mid pipe. All right, so once again, we have a clamp in place. Now we're going to grab our next pipe. We'll slide that into the end of our mid pipe. Then we'll go ahead and make sure we get our hanger clipped into the body of the car. That's gonna help us keep this in place. And then I'm also going to hand start the bolts in this hanger, because that's gonna make sure that this won't pop out of place, and it'll keep everything loose enough so that I can adjust it, but just hold it in place for me. All right, so now we're going to attach our next pipe. Once again, make sure you guys have a clamp ready. Slide this into place, and then we will grab our tip setup. All right, so we'll get a clamp in place, then we'll get our tip assembly installed. All right, the next thing we're going to do is get our hanger clipped into the body of the car here. And then hand start the hardware. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. We'll go ahead and get a clamp on the end of our mid pipe, slide the pipe into place, get our hanger lined up and clipped into the body. We'll hand start our bolt here, and then move on to the next pipe. All right, so once again, make sure you guys have a clamp in place. And then we'll grab our tip assembly. As usual, we'll clip our hanger into the body here. Get it lined up so that we can hand start some bolts. And now we can grab our exhaust tips. All right guys, now we can go ahead and get our tips installed. For this, you will need a 15mm socket. Gonna wanna make sure they're straight. You can go ahead and then tighten them down. All right, now we'll get our other tip installed. Make sure that's straight and then tighten that down as well. All right, so we'll do the same thing on the other side. We'll get our tip in place, make sure it's straight, and then tighten it down. All right guys, now we're gonna go through, make sure our system is as straight as possible, and we're gonna tighten our clamps. We'll work from the front of the car to the back, and I have a 15mm socket for our clamps. All right, the last thing we'll do is tighten down our hanger bolts. All right guys, that's gonna wrap up this review and install. Keep in mind, you can always check this catback out more online right here at AmericanMuscle.com.